He was Adam, a man woven tightly into the fabric of his everyday life, a routine that felt suffocating yet comforting. He rose every morning before dawn, brewed a pot of coffee strong enough to jumpstart his heart, and donned his work uniform, a crisp navy blue button-up paired with ironed khakis. He was the quintessential family man, a dependable husband to his wife Rachel, and the proud father of two beautiful children, Emma and Lucas. To all who knew him, Adam embodied stability and dedication, qualities that were celebrated in their close-knit community of Maplewood. For years, Adam believed he excelled in providing a secure home, where love flourished beneath the surface of the mundane. He would rush home each evening after long hours at the office, his heart set on the warmth of his family. Rachel, with her charming smile and infectious laughter, was the epitome of sweetness. They decorated the house together with family photos, milestones captured in frames that lined the living room walls, each picture a testament to their conquering joy. Yet lurking in the shadows of that picture-perfect life was vulnerability, a gnawing sense of uncertainty about their connection that Adam had brushed aside for too long. His instincts, however, whispered truths he ignored. Rachel's late nights at work, the distant vibe she radiated when he tried to connect, and her expensive taste began to raise alarms in his gut. In his heart, patience morphed into passive acceptance, a belief that their struggle for stability was just a chapter in their story. Little did he know, the fortress of faith he built around their marriage was crumbling from within. Everything came crashing down one muggy July evening. It was his turn to pick up the children from soccer practice, yet he felt an undeniable urge to surprise Rachel at her office, to affirm his love amid the swirling doubts. As he approached the sleek glass building, he noticed the shadows deepen inside his wife's office. He spotted her silhouette through the window and felt the warmth of their shared passion, only to be extinguished when he caught sight of another man, sprawled comfortably in Rachel's chair, eyes twinkling with a familiarity that was unmistakably intimate. His heart raced as he stood transfixed. The man, a slick-haired executive named Derek, leaned across the desk, his fingers brushing Rachel's cheek, eliciting a laugh that was too carefree to belong to Adam's wife. The world around him blurred as a deafening silence enveloped the scene. A world that once felt safe now appeared sinister, twisting into something unrecognizable under the fluorescent light. Rage surged forth from his gut, an agonizing fire that sparked immediate clarity. Adam turned on his heel, heart pounding, knowing this was just the beginning. Adam could no longer remain the passive participant in this betrayal. He would descend into their world as the vengeful force poised to dismantle what Rachel had built, brick by brick. He feverishly calculated the steps he might take, conscious that each move had to be precise, intentional, laden with the weight of righteous fury. His first revelation struck, a flood of revelations hidden among the bills strewn across their shared desk. A quick Google search unearthed a string of expensive restaurant bills paid with their savings, an amount he hadn't thought twice about. Adam's stomach turned as he scrutinized every detail, sending sharp pangs through his chest. This deep betrayal wasn't merely emotional. It was a financial wound he couldn't overlook. Soon, he would transform from the grieving husband into a man hell-bent on reclamation. Over the next few days, Adam became a specter in his own life. He would navigate this treacherous terrain, digging deep into Rachel and Derek's web of lies. Those lost evenings when Rachel claimed to be working late morphed into undercover missions that led him to discover the truth he was painfully numb to moments before. His friend Jeff, a private investigator who specialized in marital infidelities, became his accomplice. Adam's phone rang with details Derek unknowingly provided as he bragged to others in darkened bars about Rachel's unyielding affection. Each piece of incriminating evidence was like fuel, igniting his sorrow into a fire of vengeance. He compiled data from texts, emails, and shared documents. Adam would lay out the evidence like pieces on a chessboard, and he would emerge as the decisive force in this game. What Rachel had dismissed as inconsequential moments would become the chains shackling her and Derek to their deceit. The public unmasking moment blossomed in Adam's mind like a malignant flower, bloating with anticipation. Adam would orchestrate a spectacular reveal at the charity gala they had planned to attend together. Months of hard work culminated in his twisted sense of justice. Rachel would be confronted in front of their closest friends, colleagues, and all who once marveled at their storybook romance. The moments of joy would turn bitter, and the mask she wore so flawlessly would shatter before their eyes. As the night unwound, Adam stood before Rachel with ice coursing through his veins, each heartbeat echoing the certainty of his resolve. The hall was a shimmering explosion of lights, laughter, and live music, each note a cruel reminder of what Adam had lost. Clutching a glass of wine, he rehearsed the words swirling in his mind, planning the elaborate destruction of everything Rachel and Derek had fostered. Their respect, their status, and each disingenuous bond in this world they had meticulously masqueraded as genuine love. The moment stretched, and in his moment of clarity, Adam saw Rachel across the room, her laughter rippling through the crowd like a wave of deceptive allure. The moment felt sublime as he could finally reclaim his power. A twisted sense of satisfaction slithered through him, knowing he had transformed from shattered husband to ruthless avenger. As he locked eyes with Rachel, he approached with purpose, intent clear. This was to be the stage where her deception would be laid bare for all to see. The atmosphere crackled with electricity as Adam made his way towards Rachel, weaving through clusters of guests clad in elegant gowns and sharp suits. The vibrant hues of the gala reflected a facade he had lived behind, but now that mask would slip. The orchestra played on, oblivious to the impending storm about to roar through the halls. As he approached, he noticed Derek leaning casually against a wall, completely at ease, blissfully unaware of the sniper's nest of illusions he had constructed around Rachel. "Hey, babe, come here!" Rachel's voice rang out, bright as the chandelier overhead, drawing him closer. Her eyes glinted with excitement, a stark contrast to the turmoil boiling in Adam's chest. A forced smile graced his lips as he stepped into her embrace, doing his utmost to suppress the avalanche of rage surging beneath the surface. "Can we chat for a second?" he said, his voice low, honeyed with malice. "Of course. What's up?" The innocent lilt in her voice made bile rise in his throat. Behind her mask of affection, he saw the cracks form, empathy surfacing only for the facade they had constructed together. There was no time for hesitance. Adam felt a rush of adrenaline. This was his moment. He nodded toward the corner of the ballroom, away from the prying eyes and ears. "Let's step outside for a minute. It's about time we had a serious talk." With a tilt of her head and a curious arch of her brow, Rachel followed him into the brisk night air. The chill hit Adam's face, grounding him while the starlit sky swirled with the weight of their turbulent reality. As soon as the doors closed behind them, leaving the echoes of laughter inside, the atmosphere transformed from festive to fraught with tension. "Adam, what?" "Don't," he interrupted, cutting through her confusion with a wave of indignation. "I know everything, Rachel. The late nights, the texts, Derek." His voice trembled with a ferocity he could hardly contain. "I saw it all." For a split second, Rachel's mask faltered, her eyes darting as if seeking an escape. Reality crashed down around them, and in that moment, the very foundations of their marriage trembled. "You're mistaken, Adam," she stuttered, her voice losing its cadence. "You're seeing things that aren't there." "Don't play games with me," he snapped, his voice echoing off the walls of the gala venue, instantly evoking disbelief and judgment in her eyes. "I've got photos and messages. This isn't just a misunderstanding." Her cheeks flushed crimson, a lie crumbling into full view, cornered by the man she had sought to betray. "You don't understand. It was a mistake." "A mistake," he echoed back, laughing bitterly joyless. "A mistake is burning the dinner or forgetting an anniversary. This is betrayal, Rachel. This is treachery, at its worst." For every word that left his mouth, he felt the power surging within him. The impact of their situation was electrifying, each syllable charging the air with an undeniable weight. Outside, the laughter of friends was now distant. Behind these walls, the social fabric would be stripped down to its naked truth. Rachel's facade shattered, eyes shifting from denial to panic. "Adam, please, let's talk about this." "Talk?" He held a hand up, invoking silence. "You'll talk, all right. Or better yet, you'll be rendered speechless when I drop the bombshell. You thought I'd stay in the dark? I'm going to ruin everything you care about, and it starts tonight." "No! You can't do this!" Desperation leaked from her voice, her hand clutching the lapel of her dress. "Think of the kids! The kids!" he spat, each word heavy with disdain. "They need to know the truth about what you've done. You want them to grow up with a lie? You've deluded yourself longer than I could have ever expected. You think you're walking away from this without consequence? Think again." As he spoke, he felt the burden lift. The poisonous weight of her betrayal was transforming into a shield. The world around him faded. It was just him and her, locked in the emotional plunge of their horrific reality. Whatever you think this is, you've got to believe me. I need you," Rachel gasped, her voice wavering. I'm still your wife. I love you." "Love?" he snorted derisively. "You don't love someone you cheat on. You've shamed this family. You've taken everything from me and turned it into a perverse joke. But I'm going to show everyone what you've become. You're going to pay for this, Rachel." He took a step back, reveling in the horror dawning in her eyes, the very realization that her pristine life was teetering on the brink of oblivion. He pulled out his phone, the very instrument of his vindication, holding it up like an ace in a high-stakes poker game. "I've got screenshots, Rachel. Texts that outline your sordid affair. You thought you could hide? Not anymore." The heat of righteousness coursed through him, every word becoming the nail in the coffin of their facade. "No, Adam, don't do this. You wouldn't do this to our family." She was pleading now, her voice strained, breaking like fragile glass. "Oh, but I will," he affirmed, feeling the coldness spread within him. "I'll make sure everyone sees the real you, the deceitful, self-serving woman hiding behind a smile." As the words blared into the night, his heart raced in time with the realization that he was no longer anchored to pain. Instead, he had transformed from a quiet, trusting husband into a relentless avenger, fueled by a purpose that he would never let slip away. It was time to sever the ties with the woman who had manipulated love into a weapon. Behind him, the doors swung open and shadows from the ballroom spilled out, drawn to the chaotic confrontation. He turned his back to Rachel, a final curtain call in a play that had long outlived its audience, and felt their eyes burn into him. The gazes of family, friends, colleagues, all there to witness the grand unmasking. He stepped back into the light of the gala, the music and laughter surging back to his senses. In the chaos of betrayal, Adam was finally unleashing the full extent of the world he would create for himself. A world where integrity and justice would flourish, or die fighting as he tore down everything that had been built on lies. This moment, the moment of exposure and betrayal, was merely the prelude to a profound transformation in his identity. "Everyone," Adam called out, lifting his voice above the din, "I have something important to reveal." The room fell silent, every eye now locked onto him and Rachel. The betraying wife trapped within her web of deceit, caught in the stark light of his painful revelation. The time for judgment had come, and there was no turning back. "Adam, please!" Rachel's voice quivered with desperation, a faint echo of her previously confident facade. "You don't have to do this." He could see the panic rising in her, cascading through her features like a rippling current of vulnerability. But he was done being swayed by pleas that had no authenticity, no depth of feeling behind them. The solidarity of their shared past had disintegrated, and all that remained was the raw nerve of betrayal he tapped into with every passing moment. The murmurs from the crowd grew louder as his audience awaited the spectacle. The music had stopped. The clinking of glasses faded into a heavy silence, like an amphitheater poised for a dramatic unveiling. Guests shifted uneasily, their expressions dancing between intrigue and distress, leaning in as if the tension could be sliced with a knife. "Rachel has been lying to all of us," Adam declared, his voice sharp and unwavering, resonating through the space. He held his phone high, a weapon ready to dismantle the very fabric of her deceit. "That this here are messages between her and Derek Rosenthal? Yes, the same manager you're all looking up to. Take a look." As he swiped through the messages, he caught glimpses of Rachel's face, shifting from fear to indignation. He felt a twisted satisfaction unleashed within him, powering him like an engine of retribution. Conversations about secret getaways, late-night escapades, romantic dinners, all while I was at home, playing the dutiful husband. "Check this out," he continued, pointing towards the screen. "Deep connections they seemed to share, while I was cast aside." The guests craned over, gasps erupted among the crowd. Friends whispered behind cupped hands, unsure of how to react. Rachel stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing as if the words lodged in her throat could not coalesce into a coherent plea. "What are you doing?" she yelled, voice trembling with indignation and embarrassment. "This isn't fair." Adam relished in the irony of her protest. Fairness was a luxury she had deprived him of for a long time. "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You think it's fair to deceive the one person who's been nothing but faithful?" He stepped closer to her, sensing her anxiety rising like steam from a kettle. "Everyone deserves to know when someone is betraying the trust of their marriage. And as your husband, I'm going to stand up and demand accountability for the mess you've created." "This is wrong, Adam," she cried, desperation weaving her words in a frantic bid to claw her way back from the abyss. Yet he pushed on, channeling every ounce of hurt and betrayal into his words. "You turned our life into a masquerade. How can you expect anyone, least of all me, to respect you after this? Look at the man you've chosen, instead of being honest with me." As the room's collective gaze pierced through them, he felt liberated, not blessed, but free from the chains of ignorance that had bound him for years. Anger had transformed into empowerment, an electric current lighting each nerve ending with clarity. "Do you see, people?" Adam raised his voice, drawing everyone's attention back to him. "This right here is what betrayal looks like. The lies, the deceit. It shatters families. It leaves nothing but chaos in its wake." He felt the momentum building, the rising tide of justice surging through him. "And I refuse to let Rachel Walker pretend to be someone she's not, to exploit our family and the trust we built." The crowd murmured again. Whispers of disbelief and pity spiraled through the air. Some turned their backs to Rachel, exposing the cracks in her social armor. Derek's confident demeanor faded, and with it, Adam saw the uncertainty creeping across his face, realizing the weight of evidence Adam wielded was now trained squarely on him. Adam glanced at Derek, who wore an expression equal parts fear and resentment. "You think you can worm your way into my home, my life, and not face the consequences?" He pointed directly at him. "Let's not kid ourselves anymore." "Please, Adam," Derek stammered, scrambling to find his footing, while the truth spiraled like leaves in a storm. "This isn't how it has to end. We can talk this out." "No," Adam interjected, cutting him off with a derisive smile. "No more talking. Your casual affairs and seductive innuendos have turned into this, a public disgrace, and you're not escaping this one." He directed his gaze back to Rachel, who was now a mere shadow of the woman he once thought he loved. Fear had stripped away her defenses. "You think you can play the victim here? You've manipulated everyone you cared about for your gain, and now witness the fallout." A low rumble crested through the crowd as people began to shuffle uncomfortably. The weight of resentment and anger simmered beneath their polished exteriors. Friends who had once embraced Rachel now flicked glances of doubt, assessing her with newfound hostility. Adam could almost hear the collective gasp of realization washing over their once adoring audience. Rachel's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, mixed with desperation and shame. "Adam, don't do this to our children. They'll be ashamed of this." Think of the damage. Damage? You knocked the wheels off this cart long before I ever took control. He felt energized, a bolt of conviction coursing through his veins. It was all about reclaiming his power, building back confidence as each spark of resentment gave way to ferocity. With each passing moment, Rachel's confidence whittled down like twigs in a fire, flame gobbling her sense of authority. "You don't have to destroy me like this," she pleaded, her voice laced with bitterness, trembling on the edge of defeat. "The only thing being destroyed here is your image, your lies, and the illusion of stability you created." Adam stepped back, allowing the energy of the topic to circulate among the room before roaring, "Take a look around, everyone. This is what betrayal looks like." He took a deep breath, savoring the moment and channeling the adrenaline rushing toward him, feeling it inside his very core. The power of transparency. No longer a victim, he had chosen to resurrect himself as the common man who would not rest until justice prevailed. "Well, Adam," Rachel spat bitterly, her facade wavering like a candle in a storm, "you'll be the one left out in the cold when this is all over." "Cold?" he laughed, his eyes igniting with a fierce flame. "Please, there's not enough ice left in your heart for that." One final glimmer of hope flickered in her eyes, but he wouldn't let her spin this any longer. "This isn't just about you anymore, Rachel. It's about standing up and claiming what's been taken from me. I'll get our life back, piece by piece, and I won't let you hide behind your lies any longer." The unease among the crowd swelled into a palpable tension, transforming the gala from a celebration into an arena for confrontation. Adam felt their eyes on him, some filled with sympathy, others with judgment. He fed off their energy, using it to galvanize his resolve. The moment was a crescendo of emotions: anger, disbelief, and not a small amount of schadenfreude from those relishing the spectacle of this once cherished couple on the brink of ruin. "Why are you doing this?" Rachel's voice quivered, her previous confidence disintegrating into panic. She took a step forward, clutching at his arm in a desperate bid to bridge the chasm that had opened between them. "You don't want to destroy our family." "Family?" Adam scoffed, recoiling from her touch as if it were poison. "You destroyed the family the moment you decided to betray everything we built together. You've cut the ties and stitched your heart to someone else's lies." He could feel the heat surging in him, the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he relished the moment of truth. The guests loomed closer, curiosity piqued, waiting for the next revelation that would shatter the illusion of Rachel's integrity. No longer hiding behind silence or familial loyalty, Adam felt empowered. "Do you hear what he's saying?" he implored the crowd, now fully vested in his outburst. "This isn't just between us anymore. It's about accountability. It's about us, the people who entrusted her with our respect and our loyalty. Rachel has turned that trust into a farce." "Adam," she protested, desperation creeping into her voice, "I didn't mean for this to happen. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" He lifted an eyebrow, allowing a bitter chuckle to escape. "You gave your trust to Derek instead. You made your choice, and you put your selfish desires over your family's well-being. No explanation can justify that." The echoes of his voice filled the space, resonating with those present, who began murmuring among themselves with nods of agreement. As Adam scanned the faces surrounding him, he spotted Derek, who had retreated several feet away, anxiety etched deeply into his features. The once confident man was now a caricature of shame, a revelation for all to see. "Derek," Adam called out, his voice dripping with scorn. "Think you'll be able to salvage your reputation after this? Your involvement is just as vile. You think you can corner my wife and ruin my family without paying the price?" Derek, caught off guard, shook his head, his throat constricting as he attempted to maintain an air of composure. "I didn't plan for it to happen like this, man. It just happened," he stammered, each word falling flat. The truth of his weak moral compass dripped from his tongue like poison. "Just happened," Adam laughed, the sound dark and venomous. "Hiding behind excuses doesn't cut it anymore. You chose to pursue Rachel, deliberately seeking out my trust and severing the family we built. He gestured towards Rachel, who stood rigid, the reality of her actions barring her ability to speak. In that moment, a guest from their circle, a woman named Maggie, stepped forward, cutting through the thick tension with a voice that rang with authority. "Rachel, this isn't who you are, is it? This can't be your truth," she implored, though Adam sensed a faint note of desperation in her tone, as if clinging to the good in Rachel was a way of reevaluating their shared lives. Rachel, feeling cornered, faltered momentarily. "Maggie, She stumbled, realizing that for every friend she had hoped to sway, this situation had eroded that loyalty. "Who you are," Adam interjected sharply, refusing to let her deflect the moment. "This is the real Rachel, a woman willing to betray trust for shallow thrills. Your personhood has turned to dust." At that moment, Adam felt a profound sense of transformation within him, a metamorphosis forged in the flames of betrayal and now fanned into existence through his words. What was once a passive acceptance of failure morphed into a fierce reclamation of truth. He understood now that standing up against deception, no matter how monumental it felt, was a step towards liberation. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the crowd once more, bringing the focus back to the people bearing witness. "This isn't merely about my marriage. It's about the intersections of trust and morality. We let appearances blur the lines of what's real. Rachel's infidelity isn't just an affront to me. It's a betrayal to each of you who deemed her worthy of friendship." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, expressions shifting from sympathy to disgust. People exchanged glances, seeing Rachel through a lens previously clouded by their trust and familiarity. It was clear she may have been a cherished friend, but dishonesty could sever even the strongest bonds. "Make no mistake," Adam continued, emboldened by the momentum of the unfolding emotional tide. "This will be a reckoning. Rachel will face the consequences of her betrayal. No matter how many apologies she hurls, how many tears fall on this night. Trust is hard-earned, and it can be so easily unraveled. A betrayal like this doesn't deserve forgiveness. Not from me, and certainly not from any of you." He knew in this very instance, the gathering would ripple out into their community, a message underscored by the power of honesty. He was fighting against the isolation of betrayal with insistence that transparency would prevail. Rachel seemed to shrink before the crowd, her truth crashing down under the weight of Adam's relentless words. In that moment, surrounded by the assortment of friends now reduced to spectators, he reveled in the clarity his anger had bestowed upon him. His heart raced as he took one last look at Rachel, who stood disengaged from the world she had tried to weave deceitfully. This was the moment she was being stripped bare. All the pretenses would fade away from what was no longer escapable. "Rachel," he said, fully aware that this was the climactic stand everyone had gathered to witness. "All choices have consequences. You've chosen your path, and now it's time to face its fallout." A bell tolled in his heart, intimately beckoning him to this truth. The past might haunt him, but this moment was freedom. Rachel's fabric of lies unraveled before him, turning to dust, swallowed by the winds of accountability. With finality and purpose, he stepped back from her, opening the stage for the audience to dissect their beliefs. This was a vicious path they had treaded down, but now the road bifurcated. The reckoning and judgment offered him a chance to reclaim his place. "Let the truth light your way forward." "Assuredly I will," Adam declared, holding the crowd captive with a newfound strength. As the murmurs enveloped the hall once more, he felt enmeshed in the palpable promise of justice. Now the battle for his life, his newfound self, could truly begin. As Adam stepped back, feeling the energy of the room shift, he watched Rachel's composure disintegrate into a puddle of desperation and shame. The looks of shock and disgust reverberated among the guests. Friends, acquaintances, and those who had once considered her a cherished confidant now reevaluating everything they thought they knew about her. Is this how you plan to live? He pressed on, folding his arms across his chest, gaze piercing into her. Is your life built on lies and deception? Because I won't allow you to drag my children into this web of deceit. Rachel's anger ignited at the mention of their kids, flickering back to life as she sought to regain control. How can you say that? You know how much I love them. Her voice trembled with false indignation, but it was anchored in fear as she faced mounting pressure from the crowd. You love them? The incredulity dripped from his words as his bitterness returned like an old ghost. You love them enough to destroy their family unit? To teach them that betrayal is permissible as long as it's wrapped in charm? Around them, murmurs of agreement rippled through the attending crowd, but Rachel would not buckle completely under his weighty scrutiny. You don't understand. This wasn't just about you and me. There were things I thought I could fix. Things I missed in our marriage. Fix? Adam's voice rose with intensity, each syllable punctuated by the weight of devastating truths. You didn't even try. When faced with challenges, you hid. You ran to another man, the very man who had access to our life, our home. This is not about fixing, it's about choosing to destroy. A shroud of discomfort hung heavy in the air. Guests exchanged glances, some with hearts in their throats, realizing the impact of Rachel's choices. The contrast between Adam's righteous fury and Rachel's deteriorating resolve painted a picture larger than just infidelity. It echoed louder as an indictment of betrayal itself. Rachel's eyes flickered with fear and uncertainty, desperately grasping for any semblance of a defense that could save her. She opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat, pearls of remorse and denial battling for survival. Then Adam put one hand on his hip and motioned the other toward the crowd. You see how these walls are closing in around her? This life of deception is lethal. I can no longer allow the mask she's woven for herself to cover the truth from all of us. He felt the exhaustion creeping in after the intensity of the confrontation, yet the fire inside him flickered resolutely. Rachel, how many more names will you attach to that lies list? How many friends will betray their principles because you manipulated your way into their trust? Rachel, with tears streaming down her cheeks, finally ceased her romantic bemoaning and set her jaw tight, glaring defiantly back at Adam. You think this will solve anything? How do you think our kids will react? They'll hate us both. The truth stung like a bee, a harsh reminder of how betrayal could corrode the very foundations they had sought to build together. Adam thought of Emma and Lucas, two innocent souls caught in a tumultuous storm of adult choices. He couldn't allow Rachel's selfishness to seep into their world any further. No lesson wrought through panic would hold weight. It had to be a lesson marked by accountability. Let them know about your missteps, Adam declared. Let them understand what love looks like beyond the illusions. They deserve that truth, and I won't let you paint this picture of family life with veils of deceit. Each word felt liberating, stripping away the pretense that had bound him to this colossal wreck. With a newfound determination, he turned back to the gathering. What I stand for transcends my marriage. This is a battle for clarity. We'll not lead our children into a life defined by secrets, and the implications of these lies will not escape me. I will fight for what we built together. A few friends stepped closer, visibly shaken by the emotional turmoil. Adam saw nods of agreement among them, while whispers circulated like wildfire, a chorus of disbelief settling into understanding. Families deserve, at the very least, the clarity of truth, he continued, his voice rising for emphasis. No more secrets shrouded in kindness. No more cover-ups masquerading as love. This isn't about love anymore. This is about accountability. Rachel, now reticent and exposed, began to see the tide turning against her. She had always been the beloved wife, the admired friend, and now here she stood, trapped in a web of her own making, floundering to find an angle of escape. You can't just paint me as a villain in this scenario. You're not innocent either. You gave me reasons to look elsewhere. Adam shook his head in disbelief. You have to stop right there. No more blaming me for your choices. This pulled the veil off what I thought we had. You decided that abandoning your vows was a better course. You thought you could have it all. Family and a new romance. That's where you... Stop acting like you're some saint, she fired back, her voice rising in tone and defiance. I felt neglected for years, Adam. I loved you, but I was lonely. You were too lost in your career to even notice me anymore. The revelation stung, raw and unfiltered. The very foundation of their relationship fractured, and in that moment, Adam glimpsed deeper truths buried beneath the surface. Questions began to swirl in his mind, too. We had both constructed barriers against connection. But this wasn't the time for introspection. This was a moment of reckoning. Loneliness doesn't justify deceit. Adam stood firm, the strength in his voice reverberating through the crowd. While I've fought every day for our family, you sold our dreams for a fleeting thrill. That's your truth, Rachel. In the wake of that admission came the silence of the crowd, people processing the rawness of his annotations against feelings once left unsaid. Clarity was starting to surface. The winds of accountability had shifted in his favor. Now, I will take you to task for your choices, Adam continued, a resolute edge sharpening his tone. You will not slink back into this life without facing the consequences of your actions. This doesn't end tonight. This is just a chapter in a much larger story, one that's now mine to write. With every word he spoke, Adam felt himself liberated. No longer bound by the illusion of what he thought was a loving marriage, he had carved a path forward. Amid the wreckage of two lives, he discovered purpose beyond pain, a rebirth driven by fierce resolve. Rachel stood transformed before him, not as a partner lost, but as an emblem of the chaos betrayal wreaked. A lesson etched deep in the marrow of their broken love. Let's end this charade, Adam announced, locking eyes with Rachel. Tonight marks your reckoning, and for the sake of our children, I will reclaim the foundation of trust and love that you've so carelessly hoped to dismantle. He walked away, heart steady with purpose, leaving the crowd abuzz with realization. With each step, he felt the winds of change wrap around him like a protective cloak, embracing the newfound clarity that awaited on the horizon. The fight for his family's honor had begun, and it was one he intended to win resolutely. As Adam stepped forward into the dimly lit yet charged atmosphere of the gala, he felt the weight of collective gazes resting heavily on him. The unabashed whispering faded into a silence filled with disbelief that he had dared to shatter their reverie. In that moment, he understood that the battle had transcended mere personal anguish. It now held the power to reshape perceptions among their friends. People who had loved and trusted Rachel and were now left reeling from the gaping wounds of exposed deceit. Rachel stood rooted, a figure of vulnerability surrounded by the broken mirror of their lives. Her mask fractured, leaving behind traces of regret and fear glimmering in her eyes. For once, the carefully curated social poise crumbled before the reality of her actions, hitting unbidden. It was a whirlwind of emotions, swirling in a cocktail of humiliation and panic. Do you really think this can resolve anything? Rachel's tone had shifted. No longer defiant, it trembled on the precipice of desperation. You think humiliating me will fix our marriage? You're plunging us deeper into chaos. I'm aiming for clarity, Rachel, Adam shot back, feeling power surge through him. You've turned chaos into your refuge, creating a rift where only confusion should lie. No more. My accountability starts here, and yours follows closely. Around them, the audience shifted uneasily, some casting sidelong glances at one another, grappling with the unraveling narrative. The gala, which had earlier sparkled with laughter and camaraderie, morphed into an echo of betrayal, highlighting the paradox between loyalty and treachery that often lurked unspoken beneath the surface. I'm still your wife, Rachel insisted, her voice strained with the weight of her pleas. "You can't just destroy me in front of everyone like this. You're becoming the villain in this story." "The villain?" he countered sharply, letting his voice resound against the walls. "Who is the true villain here? Is it me, the husband who has given his all and invested every minute into nurturing this family? Or is it you, the one who sought validation in the arms of another man?" Her silence was thunderous, the air thick with tension as guests began to exchange uncertain glances. Adam's heart raced, not from fear, but from recognizing the transformative capacity that righteousness ignited within him. This moment was not an end. It was an awakening. Suddenly, from the back of the room, a familiar figure stepped forward, a mutual friend named David. He'd always been someone Adam considered a moral compass, a grounding force amid life's tumult. David's brow furrowed with concern, and his voice, calm yet firm, cut through the abyss of tension. "Adam, I think we need to take a step back," David said, raising a hand, seeking to moderate the growing clash. "This is a tough situation for everyone involved. Emotions are running high. Perhaps it would be better—" "No, David," Adam interjected. "This isn't about backing down. Why should I shield Rachel from her own consequences? Why should we pretend this isn't a glaring truth tearing our family apart? She made her choices, and those don't just disappear in a wash of civility." Rachel looked between Adam and David, her eyes flashing with indignation and then regret. "You think this is a show for your misfit audience, Adam? That humiliating me will redeem what you feel is lost?" The pain wrenched her voice as she desperately tried to reach for any ounce of sympathy, her posture teetering on the edge of collapse as she summoned remnants of her armor. "Redemption? It is time for reckoning, Rachel," Adam shouted, each word fueled by righteous anger. "Do you even recognize the gravity of what you've done? This isn't just about revenge. This is about truth finding its place in this chaos you've created." As David backed down, visibly acknowledging the tides had shifted, Adam took a step closer to Rachel, forcing her to confront the wreckage of their past head-on. "Those children, our children, deserve better. They will learn through truth, not through deceit wrapped in genteel cordiality. They deserve guidance, not shadows hovering over their childhood." Rachel's eyes widened with a flash of clarity, shadowed by hurt, her defenses crumbling beneath the relentless spotlight of truth. "How can you do this? I'm their mother." The betrayal and hurt resided within her voice, heavy yet desperate, leaving her vulnerable and raw. Being a mother should mean prioritizing your family above all else. And what we are witnessing now is the exact opposite of that. Adam's voice deepened, resonating through the room in a way that left little room for ambiguity. Each word served to drive the final stake between them deeper. "You are choosing your own desires over our family. This is not love. This is selfishness, cloaked beneath illusions of affection." As the crowd ebbed and swelled with murmurs, Adam felt the shift, a singular moment of clarity, where all the injustice he had endured converged to crystallize before him. He wasn't merely fighting for the remnants of a fading marriage. He was drawing a line in the sand against betrayal itself. The atmosphere grew tense as onlookers began to actively participate in the unfolding drama. Whispers of disbelief traversed the crowd like wildfire, each one feeding on the narrative that Adam had so skillfully unveiled. In that moment, he realized he would not only reclaim the voice stolen from him, but also serve as an example of moral fortitude, championing the pursuit of truth. "Rachel, the truth is this. I want the kids to have a chance to understand the world differently. I don't want them dancing around lies. I want them equipped for life in shades of reality," he declared, the fire in his voice igniting his passion. Finally, he pushed further, his voice steady and unyielding. "And if that means dismantling every illusion you've built, then so be it. I will take that stand with ferocity. I will not back down." Her expression morphed, caught between anger and tender realization. "You think this is justice, Adam? All you're doing is stripping away everything we had. And all you did was willingly destroy it, he shot back. I'm not asking for sympathy, Rachel. I'm demanding you face the consequences of your choices. The battle line drawn, he turned to the onlookers. The night had morphed into an unanticipated confrontation. A reckoning that transcended both personal and social lines. You wanted to trust her. You wanted to believe in the goodness she projected. And now, I come to you as a warning. Look behind the facade. Trust has to be carved out of integrity, not mired in deceit amid glittering lies. Emotions surged across the room, a tide of understanding battling against the chaos. Adam stood tall amidst that whirlpool, knowing fully well that he would reclaim a path, for not only himself, but for their children, their future woven in strands of truth, free from the lies that had ensnared them. Tonight is a turning point, he proclaimed, his heart ablaze with righteous anger, yet fueled by purpose. It's not just about exposing deceit, it's about welcoming honesty, one I will fight for until the last breath I take. He caught Rachel's gaze, and for the first time, he saw the flicker of understanding behind her despair. But it also carried a sense of finality, a realization that a world built on lies could never withstand the storm of truth. The air crackled with energy as he stepped away, holding the room captive in the loud silence of exposed vulnerability, leaving behind not just a wounded former partner, but a fleshed-out lesson that taught a broader truth, a truth that would forever be woven into the fabric of their shared experience. Adam's heart raced as he absorbed the electricity coursing through the room. The esprit de corps that had once linked him to Rachel had morphed into an electric battlefield, where truth and deception waged war in vivid technicolor. He could see the realization seeping into the minds of those who had once stood by Rachel's side, their expressions transforming from shock to comprehension, then to a wary judgment that would inevitably reshape their collective future. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, propelling him forward, and he decided that every moment counted, that silence would not play a role in this redemptive journey. "Let me be clear," Adam proclaimed, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "This is not just about my family, it's a lesson for us all. The facade of perfection can crumble in an instant. One decision made in secret can rip apart a lifetime of shared memories." The rhythm of his speech accelerated his passion. Each word resonated with the guests, drawing them closer as though he were gathering them into an invisible circle. What we are witnessing here tonight is not merely a marital strife. It's the unraveling of deceit and the urgent need for accountability. How many of you have been complicit in accepting the image of perfection without questioning the reality behind it? The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Many attendees shifted in their seats, exchanging glances, their faces reflecting the dawning awareness of their complicity in perpetuating a comfortable lie. Adam was awakening a collective conscience, one that had been all too willing to overlook the cracks in Rachel's painted-on persona. "No more," he said, voice steady, filled with newfound conviction. "We must stop allowing superficial facades to dictate the narratives we share. From this moment, I will fight for clarity and transformation. For my kids, and for all of you who deserve to live authentically." Rachel was losing her grip on the situation, her eyes darting between Adam and the growing discontent from the crowd. The laughter and cheers that once filled the gala now felt like a scene from a tragedy, and the energy shifted, exposing her vulnerabilities. With each piercing word from Adam, the characters of this drama crystallized into a stark contrast between the unyielding truth he was portraying and the fragile reality she had retreated into. "Do you think you can charm your way back into our lives?" he continued, his gaze unwavering. "You can't hide away from the truth and claim it's love. Love is built on respect and trust, both of which you've shattered." "Stop it," Rachel finally shouted, desperation lacing her voice. "You're not the judge of my character. I was there for you in every triumph and failure. I just lost my way." "Lost your way?" Adam echoed incredulously, taking a few steps closer. "You didn't lose your way. You consciously chose to betray me. You chose to turn to another man instead of coming to me with your pain. You chose to seek comfort in the arms of someone else rather than in the unity of our marriage." The anger in his voice echoed ominously, and the crowd, silent spectators until now, began to shift uneasily. The reality was settling in, quietly rippling through them, and at that moment, Adam sensed a tectonic shift occurring. Those gathered were beginning to see Rachel for what she truly was, unmasked and raw. A woman cloaked in the illusions she had conjured up, all for the notion of hiding her insecurities. "You think shame will absolve your guilt? It never does," he pressed on, feeling emboldened. "If I remain silent now, all my shame will be mine to carry. But I refuse to bear it. Weigh me down, yes. Try and punish me, absolutely. But I will not allow your darkness to quiet my voice." Rachel, with her fists clenched tightly, felt the crowd's growing scrutiny envelope her. The emotional atmosphere was a swirling tempest, and in that instant, reality crashed down on her. "You can't do this, Adam," she yelled, fear and defiance fighting for dominance within her. "You think the children will respect you for this?" Adam felt a flame flicker within his chest. "Respect is not a byproduct of silence," he stated firmly. "I will not teach my children that they should hide from the truth or sacrifice their integrity for comfort. They will learn that standing tall against betrayal is a mark of true courage, and that love must withstand trials built from honesty." He stood before the gathering, a champion of truth wrapped in righteous anger, but also with a heart that pulsed for redemption. He finally saw himself, the warrior rising from the ashes of a broken marriage, an ordinary man claiming power over his narrative. "Rachel," he turned back to her, his tone softening as he addressed the former love of his life. "This isn't the end for us. It's your chance for transformation. Maybe you'll learn how to rise from this, or maybe you won't. Either way, I won't be standing in the shadows anymore. I refuse to accompany you down this road of deceit." Her face twisted, caught between the pain of confrontation and the anger that belied her hurt. "You think you'll just walk away, leaving me behind? That anyone will stand by your side after this?" She scoffed, the bravado crackling under her fading confidence. Adam felt a sense of calm wash over him, a conviction that had been denied to him for far too long. "I'll stand by my truth, Rachel, and those who choose to see me resonate with that integrity will remain in my life moving forward. The friends worth keeping shall join me at the shores of honesty, while those who wade towards betrayal can drown in their own deception. And that includes you," he said definitively. The crowd erupted into muted conversations, discontent surrounding Rachel as people began to assess her more critically. He could see many wrestling with their allegiances, weighing the evidence of her betrayal against their past beliefs. Relationships that once seemed indestructible faltered in the wake of accountability. "Leave," Adam began, feeling a heavy mantle shift from his shoulders. "Go, Rachel. Leave this venue and consider everything we've built. Reflect on who you've allowed yourself to become." Her lips pursed in disbelief, tears cascading down her cheeks. "You'll regret this," she snapped, her tone now a petulant remnant of her earlier confidence. "You think you've won, but this is far from over." "No, Rachel," he said coolly, taking center stage for one last command. "This is just the beginning. For you, for me, and for the life we will reshape. You may choose to believe you'll emerge unscathed, but life has a funny way of delivering consequences. You can coast on your lies, but sooner or later, they'll catch up with you." With that proclamation hanging heavily in the air, Rachel turned sharply on her heels, storming off into the night, a woman stripped of her armor, leaving Adam in the wake of a tumultuous storm. As she disappeared from sight, a loud, charged silence filled the venue. The crowd looked on in disbelief, slowly processing the seismic shift that had just taken place. Adam, however, felt a rush of liberation ignite as clarity emerged from the chaotic bonding of reflection and purpose. "I'm not here to teach lessons or preach morality," he said, addressing those still gathered, voices a collective hum of questions and realizations. "I stand included in the spectrum of human complexity, a complex story where love and betrayal crisscross. But ultimately, tonight, I chose the path of truth." A wave of subdued applause began to ripple through the crowd, an acknowledgement of Adam's newfound resolve. Whispers of support and empathy danced through the air, forming a blanket of camaraderie around him as he reveled in this moment of emancipation. A reality where he could not only embrace autonomy but also redefine what it meant to reclaim his life. In this honest reckoning, a fire burned within him, a promise to forge ahead into uncharted territory where he would guide his children with clarity born from adversity, amid the profound lessons this night had distanced him further from. The battle of betrayal had forged him anew, igniting his spirit within the endless quest for truth. As the echo of applause faded, Adam stood rooted amidst the turbulent sea of emotions surrounding him. The whirlwind of confrontation had left him exhilarated, yet at the same time, an underlying exhaustion weighed heavily upon his shoulders. He glanced around, making eye contact with familiar faces, the friends who had taken his side, the acquaintances who bore witness to his pain, and even a few who had shown Rachel unwavering loyalty. The moral kaleidoscope of their friendship had shifted dramatically, opening his eyes to the complex interplay of trust and betrayal that colored their relationships. As the ambience of the gala morphed into that of muted whispers, the chatter bounced off the walls. Adam heard snippets of conversations, the underlying current of empathy, supportive, while others echoed uncertainty. He was keenly aware that his stand would reverberate throughout their community long after the night faded into memory. With a resolute heart, Adam stepped forward to address the gathering, hoping to harness the moment that had spun from chaos into clarity. Tonight isn't simply about Rachel and me. It's about the choices we make as individuals. It's about how we carve our paths, often under the scrutiny of those around us. We must ask ourselves, do we uphold the ideals of integrity, or do we hide behind veils of deceit? The crowd seemed absorbed by his presence, the passion he radiated becoming a rallying point. We've all faced trials rooted in disappointment, loss, or betrayal. The question isn't whether or not these hardships will arise, but how we respond when they do. Will we cower and retreat, or will we confront the truth with brave hearts? Each word hung in the air carefully, thoughtfully cultivated for the ears of those he called friends. Adam felt a swell of momentum. We have the power to uplift or dismantle one another. Let's strive to foster a culture of transparency, rooted in trust and accountability. Because when deceit lurks, when we choose to shield ourselves with lies, it places not only our relationships at risk, but, more importantly, our own integrity. As he spoke, he could see nods forming in the crowd, people gradually moving from shock to understanding, faces once laden with uncertainty, now transformed with the weight of revealed truth. It takes immense strength to confront our faults and those of others. Tonight is merely the beginning for me. I refuse to allow the ghost of betrayal to tear apart my future. I will speak my truth, reclaim my life for my children and for myself. He glanced toward the back of the room, where he could have sworn he caught a fleeting glimpse of his daughter, Emma's bright eyes peeking around the corner, filled with innocent curiosity. Inside, a surge of protectiveness coursed through him. He was determined to embody the principles he sought to teach his children, a virtue that stood against deceit, grounded in the belief of empowerment. Let us build a future where our children can thrive, where they know love is based on unwavering honesty, where they are shielded from the perils of confusion and betrayal, he proclaimed even louder, allowing his voice to rewrite the narrative that had lingered over their lives. The applause grew more fervent. He felt the warmth from their acceptance, They were leaving behind the embarrassment once felt over the situation, an embarrassment that they later recognized had lurked in the shadows of unquestionable loyalty to Rachel. The crowd had transitioned from mere onlookers to advocates for change, eager to support the reclaiming of his narrative. Meanwhile, David stepped forward behind him, looking steadfast in support. "Adam, I want to commend you for your courage to speak the truth tonight. It's difficult. Relationships depend on the bonds we forge. The bravery to expose both Rachel's betrayal and your own vulnerability is something that resonates. It takes monumental strength." There was a warm ripple of agreement from the gathered friends, followed by murmurs of gratitude. Adam felt bolstered by their support, pushing him further away from the despair that had once tried to anchor him down. "Will we be willing to change our lives for the better?" David continued, speaking to the audience. "Will we foster bonds built on honesty and friendship, truly valuing the people we hold dear? Or will we allow the darkness of secrets to seep into our relationships, reclaiming the peace we once found?" Adam could sense the shift unfolding, a conversion from doubt and guilt into shared resolve, uniting the attendees in purpose. He turned back to David, nodding appreciatively. "Exactly! This is what we strive for. If we focus on understanding the power of truth and honesty, we empower ourselves and future generations." As conversations began to burgeon among guests gathered around him, Adam noticed a wave of movement sweep through the crowd. Friends gravitated towards him, eager to acknowledge the strength it took to stand bravely against betrayal. In their eyes, he could see respect rekindled, admiration growing, and the feeling of camaraderie surfacing. They yielded support as if hoping to redefine their own futures through his courage. Amidst the noise, he felt a wash of camaraderie envelop him. People reached out to him, hugging him, patting his back, their whispered acknowledgments forging bonds anew. The visually palpable tension had been replaced by strength, a solidarity that signaled resolve to be better, to hold each other accountable. "Adam, you've transformed tonight," said Maggie, another of Rachel's friends turned supporter. "You're not just saving your marriage, you've ignited a call to action. Your courage is inspiring." "I appreciate that, Maggie," he replied, allowing a smile to break through amid the waves of laughter and cheers circling around the room. "But the journey isn't mine alone. Each of us can play a part. We must strive for truth, understanding, and ultimately, forgiveness, for our own healing." It became clear to him then that newfound connections were blooming. In this shared experience, there was an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to cultivate a community that could transcend the limitations imposed by betrayal and fear. The seeds of honesty fellowship were being sown. With renewed hope, Adam stepped back to face the thrumming heartbeat of the gala. A vibrant amalgamation of people swaying with the music of understanding, respect, and camaraderie. He stood taller, compelled more than ever to advocate for transformation that would resonate beyond himself. This moment could set a precedent, a beacon guiding the way towards a brighter tomorrow, not just for himself or his children, but also for every soul caught in a conflict that threatened their integrity. As the music swelled back to life, Adam felt a surge of possibility pulsating through him. He wouldn't be defined by Rachel's choices, nor by the chaos that had once claimed his heart. Instead, he had re-embraced the essence of life, facing the harsh truths, emerging stronger, more resolute, and committed to crafting a path grounded in honesty and real love, a narrative that could flourish anew, appreciating the power that existed in shared vulnerability. And so, as the night continued, Adam found himself no longer clinging to the shards of a broken marriage, but leaning into the promise of a future forged through truth, connection, and healing, a journey that had only just begun. With the vibrant sounds of the gala reinvigorating the atmosphere, Adam felt a profound sense of momentum begin to build. Conversations blossomed around him, fueled by the spark of honesty he had ignited. Friends were not merely spectators, they were becoming stakeholders in a movement seeking to redefine their relationships and how they approach the oftentimes delicate balance of love, trust, and vulnerability. As he soaked in the energy of the moment, Adam noticed that people were starting to share their own stories, tales of their struggles and triumphs forged through adversity. The room filled with an air of catharsis and healing, voices rising to forgive the shadows that had lingered over them for far too long. He could hear echoes of confessions whispered through the crowd, friendships rekindling through the power of shared truths. "Adam!" a voice called from across the room, cutting through the symphony of emotion. It was Jenna, a close colleague and friend, who had also been friends with Rachel. Her presence emanated warmth as she moved toward him, her eyes both concerned and proud. "That was amazing. What you did tonight, it was courageous." He offered her a grateful smile, soaking in her encouragement. "Thanks, Jenna." It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. "I can't believe Rachel thought she could spin this whole thing into a narrative that would go unchecked, especially with how close we all are," she said, shaking her head slightly in disbelief. "You know, you did exactly what needed to be done. You put the truth out there." "I appreciate that," he replied, feeling the weight of her affirmation bolster him even further. It felt like a pivotal moment, not just for me, but for everyone who values integrity in our lives. Jenna nodded thoughtfully. "It's true. We can't let loyalty blind us to the reality of our relationships. If anyone else had faced this, would we have had the courage to do the same?" There was a flicker of concern in her eyes, as if the impact of the night was dawning upon her. Adam met her gaze, the gravity of the situation intertwining with hope. "We have to hold each other accountable and ensure we cultivate genuine connections. It's hard to see past talent for a face when the facade starts to slip. I want to work on building that culture. I want our friendships to foster honesty and vulnerability, not just congeniality." From behind them, David rejoined their conversation. "I've been thinking about how we can do just that. Maybe we host some gatherings that focus on open dialogue, creating a safe space where we can discuss challenges we face, share victories, and help one another through difficult times." Adam smiled at the idea, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "That's an incredible concept. We could bring everyone together, encourage honest conversations and shared experiences." "Encouraged," Jenna added. "We can create forums and discussions, perhaps some community events where people can tell their stories. We can tap into our collective support and create an environment where everyone can thrive." The energy was contagious, igniting a wave of enthusiasm that rippled through Adam's spirit. Each word spoken built on the foundation that had been laid with bravery and truth. They were ready to journey into the unknown together, armed with newfound awareness about the dangers of silence and neglect. As Adam scanned the room, he noticed a few more friends thoughtfully engaging in conversation, their expressions shifting from sorrow to solidarity. It was a stark reminder that every person held experiences of triumph and struggle, the unspoken truths that often lay beneath the surface. He saw hope in the interconnections forming, a tapestry of relationships strengthened through radical honesty. "Look at everyone," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "We're turning a tragedy into a catalyst for change. This is how we redefine what it means to be a community." David grinned, his enthusiasm infectious. "Exactly. Challenges are what compel us to grow. This is our chance to build our lives on authenticity rather than defaulting to the shadowy corners where secrets thrive." "Yes," Jenna affirmed, her face lighting up. "We need a framework that explicitly values accountability, trust, and connection, not just for us, but for our families." The trio continued brainstorming ideas, passions colliding in an explosion of determination, and Adam soon found himself enraptured by their aspirations. He felt renewed energy radiating through him, as if their ideas were infusing him with hope. washing over the landscape where despair once resided. "We can host workshops, community events," Adam exclaimed, weaving a tapestry of possibilities that enveloped them. "Learning sessions, discussions on family dynamics, restorative practice so that we can break down walls that silence our struggles?" "Yes," David replied, a fervent glint in his eyes. "Let's bring in speakers, perhaps even experts on relationships, mental health, and communication to lead these workshops." At that moment, Adam felt the exhilaration of a new beginning, an opportunity to reclaim his purpose beyond the scars left by betrayal. This rash of inspiration called for action. He envisioned a community flourishing in a wilderness of truth, transcending the darker echoes of deception that had harbored fear and shame. Meanwhile, he kept an eye on the dance floor, where small groups of guests began to gather, couples weaving themselves into the music that had begun to swell once again, creating a contrasting energy. Laughter and warmth permeated the space, reminding everyone of the joy that could coexist alongside sorrow. Even within our struggles, we need to celebrate hope and love as well, Adam mused aloud, the truth settling firmly in his heart. It's essential to balance our sacred pursuit of quality relationships with the beauty that comes from shared joy. We can invite playfulness that coexists with vulnerability. Jenna nodded thoughtfully. A beautiful duality. Let's make it happen, Adam. Let's transform this community into a beacon of hope and speak out against transgressions in our relationships, but also celebrate the joy that love can bring. Confidence surged through him as their enthusiasm bubbled over. Adam envisioned not just a healing experience for himself, but an awakening for everyone. A new way of engaging in relationships, bound together by trust, open communication, and celebrations of life's beauty. Identified by the joy surrounding them, he knew that even amid sorrow, the resilience of the human spirit could forge connections unbreakable in their strength. In those moments, he felt as though fate had led him to this very juncture, transforming pain into empowerment, cultivating love, and redeeming the lives of those within their community. Wrapping around those exhilarating thoughts, he smiled at Jenna and David with newfound determination. Let's make it real. Let's initiate the first gathering next week. Speak to anyone who wishes to partake. All they have to do is show up and bring their honesty. Who knows? It may turn lives around. Count me in, Jenna said, her enthusiasm spilling forth to echo against every wall of the venue. Let's spread the word, rally the community, and teach them how to uncover their truths. As they huddled together, engrossed in planning the transformative initiative, a rush coursed through them, a collective wave of creation fueled by vulnerability, carving a path forward not just for Adam, but for the entire community. In this moment, Adam reveled in the realization that he was the architect of change. Out of chaos and heartbreak, he'd begun to see the seeds of resilience sprouting around him, promising a brighter tomorrow built upon honesty. And despite the shadows lurking around relationships, the light of truth would guide every heart that dared to face it. With hope anchoring him and friendships reaffirmed, he knew they were poised on the brink of something revolutionarily transformative, eagerly anticipating the journey that their community would embark together. Each day would be a testament to their resolve, a celebration of harmony anchored in love, grounded in reality, rendering them stronger than ever before.